We are providing in-game currencies and items for multi-MMORPGs like World of Warcraft, Guild Wars 2, Diablo 3, Final Fantasy 14, and so on. Professional service for in-game currencies, armors, materials, and power leveling are available on our website. We are aiming at getting you everything you want in the game. KK4G, reliable website for MMO purchasing. What are you looking for? Like it now on KK4G.
Today I'm going to be sharing another build with you guys, although it will not be for the Mesmer class, sadly. I do play other professions, and even though the Mesmer is the one that I feel that I play the best and the one that I understand the most, I do play other professions and I do have pretty decent builds for them. As you can see, I have a level 80 Thief, a Engineer that I recently started, it's only level 37, and my Warrior. And as I do a lot of fractals and a lot of dungeons, the Warrior class is something that I've been using a lot more lately because they nerfed the Warrior's damage slightly but increased their survivability by a lot more. And so doing things like fractals is quite easy on a Warrior class, even in the higher levels. As you can see right now, my health is at 29,000 and I have a good deal of armor. 3,200, almost 3,300 actually. The build that I'm going to be using relies on Healing Signet and Shouts, and they actually buffed Healing Signet so that it is probably, in my opinion, the best heal that you can use as far as just sustaining your health. Some of the other ones have different benefits to them. For example, Healing Surge will give you adrenaline, heal you more if your adrenaline level is higher. And then of course you have Mending, which will remove the conditions. But the reason I'm using Healing Signet is because this build focuses a lot on keeping your regeneration up. If you couple the regeneration that you get with this build with the Healing Signet, and as well as Adrenal Healing, it'll be very hard to take you down. Plus you have 3 Shouts, and I'll show you why you have the Shouts. A lot of people do use Shouts to heal, and I'll show you the trait for that. But combined with all of those, this is a build that will do decent damage and have tons of survivability and provide good party support. So it's really great for fractals, and now that you can't just farm COF on a Berserker Warrior because you can do COF Path 1 once and really reap the rewards only one time per day, now you have to do other dungeons, and when you get with pug groups, it can really suck if none of them are good, and it happens sometimes. So running a build that you can sort of keep yourself alive and keep your party members alive is really helpful and will actually probably save you time as opposed to just running full Berserkers and pressing your Greatsword 100 Blade skill. So first thing we're going to look at is the gear. I have full soldier's armor with soldier's amulets, or sorry, soldier runes. Now basically the soldier armor will give you power, toughness, and vitality. I think the easiest way to get soldier's armor is to do AC. They did nerf how you can get tokens. You can only you can't switch characters to get extra tokens. The tokens that you get are per account now, so you're gonna want to have to get these over time as opposed to just, you know, farming the crap out of AC and getting this armor in like a couple of days. The reason I have the soldier runes are you get extra vitality and extra toughness that makes you more tanky, but your shouts will also remove a condition. So with 3 shouts, one that already removes condition and serves as a stun breaker, you have access to 4 condition removal, or you can remove up to 4 conditions just with your shouts. The other good thing about this is that the shouts have other effects just besides the condition removal, of course, and those effects are very useful to your party. As far as weapons, I'm using Valkyrie gear, which is power, toughness, and healing power. The reason being is so that our shouts will actually do a little bit more healing. The healing power in this build is 641. I have the same thing on my greatsword. Now the sigil that I have on the longbow that I use is 30% chance on critical to heal nearby allies. It's Superior Sigil of Water. You can go with a different one. The Superior Sigil of Water is kind of weak. They don't really have a lot of good options to boost your healing power though. There's There's one that will stack your healing power, but we want to have Bloodlust on our Greatsword because since this build isn't as strong as a Berserker build, you want to have another source of increasing your power. And since you are a tanky, once you get those 25 stacks of Bloodlust, you can usually keep it throughout the whole dungeon or throughout the whole fractals unless you mess up. So that covers the weapons and the armor. As far as trinkets go, I have the upgraded Fractal Capacitor with Power, Toughness, Vitality. Of course, 10 Agony Resistance on that. Same thing with the amulet here, Power, Toughness, Vitality, and then same thing with the 2 rings. So you're pretty tanky at this point. I've not gotten the Ascended rings right now, Power, Toughness, and Healing Power. So I get a balance of the power, toughness, and then of course you want that healing power, so your shouts will do more healing. And those are group heals, by the way. They're AoE heals. They have the range of whatever your shouts have. And so that's why I have some stuff that has healing power on it. Underwater weapons, I just keep my Berserker ones on. And make sure that if you want to have the effect of the soldier runes, that you also include that on your breather. Otherwise, when you go underwater, it won't count you as having 6 of the soldier runes and you won't be removing conditions underwater. So make sure that you put that on your breather. Now, as far as the distribution of our traits, we want 30 in defense, 30 in tactics, and 10 in discipline. I'm going to go over each of these, including the minor traits, as they do contribute greatly to the build. Thick Skin is the first one that we pick up with 5 points in defense. It gives us extra armor while health is above 90%, so that's making you even more tanky. Dogged Marsh, this is basically a great way to gain a source of regeneration while also reducing the effects of certain conditions that would otherwise slow you down, and it's going to be useful when you're using something like the Greatsword and you're trying to get to a mob of enemies. We also have Adrenal Health, which is one of the most important traits in this build, because combined with Healing Signet, the heals from your shouts, and this trait, you have such high regeneration that you can pretty much AFK certain mobs. I can go to Ore and attack something and just leave my computer if I wanted to, and my regeneration is so high that I barely take any damage at all. For this master trait, the reason I have it is because you get a lot of adrenaline with this build. I'll show you why in a minute, but whenever you spend your adrenaline, you basically lose a condition for every bar spent, so that's up to 3 more conditions removed. It might be a little overkill. You can switch this up if you'd like to, but when you're doing something like fractals, and those conditions can really eat at you, so having up to 7 ways to remove conditions in a build quite easily, it's really useful to you. I have Armored Attack. 5% of toughness is given as a bonus to power. Since your toughness is so incredibly high in this build, this is really awesome to just sort of contribute to how much power you have. That combined with the Bloodlust is going to help your attacks to hit even harder. Spiked Armor is a great trait to have. Since we aren't doing tons of crit damage, it's nice to have another method of dealing damage to our enemies, and since you can take the hits, you are going to deal tons of retaliation damage. When you're just standing in the fray and you have tons of mobs hitting on you, you'll just see tons of the retaliation damage just spike up, and it's really useful, really supplements your damage. For the 5 points in tactics, you get extra toughness while you're reviving, just again making you a little bit more tanky, and then it makes you more effective in reviving your allies. Empowered, you get increased damage for every boon on you. This is really useful when you're doing dungeons and there's a guardian there, because they're going to put tons of boons on you, and having that extra damage, you want to make sure that you're not just a tank. You want to have a little bit more functionality than just taking a hit. So having this, again, more power that combined with Bloodlust and some of the other traits that I've shown you will help your damage to be better than just par. Fast Healer, again, this is going to help you when you're reviving. It's really useful when somebody goes down, and there's a lot of just constant damage, like when you're fighting the Harpies and somebody goes down because a Guardian missed a wall reflection or something like that. This is going to help you get them up and sort of beat the DPS that's incoming. lung capacity, your shouts, sorry, are going to recharge 20% faster. As you can see, we have 3 shouts for our utility skills, so that's going to make all of the cooldowns on them much less. So as you can see, 20 seconds, 20 seconds, and 24 seconds. Great trait. Almost required for this build, actually. Reviver's Might. Grant might to nearby allies when you revive someone. Once again, reviving, you're very good at it as a warrior. And then you're also getting might, so that'll of course increase the damage of your party members. It's sort of a weird trait because, you know, it's not really helping the guy that you're reviving. I think it's a little odd, but we need 30 points in tactics anyways, so that's just a little bonus. Vigorous Shouts. Our shouts heal. This is really one of the core things of the build. You aren't going to be using your healing signet to heal yourself very much unless it's an emergency, because all of the regeneration that we have will sort of nullify any conditions that we have, like burn, poisons, and bleeds, unless of course you have like 25 stacks of bleeds. But in that case, we have our shouts to remove those conditions, and then they heal us. So you should be able to just use your shouts as a source of healing, the regeneration from your signet, the adrenal heals, and then of course just regeneration in general should keep you alive. The 5 points in Discipline gives you Versatile Rage, gain 5 strikes of adrenaline on weapon swap. Now this is one of the methods that you can quickly gain adrenaline, and it's really useful because you want to be able to purge conditions with your burst skills. So this is how one of the ways that you gain lots of adrenaline. The second way is that we have Inspiring Shouts. Gain adrenaline when you use a shout. Now if you notice the adrenaline bar here, you gain pretty much like a full bar of adrenaline when you use your shouts. So you can actually get full adrenaline by using your 3 shouts. You don't want to use the shouts just to gain the adrenaline, but it just helps synergize with the build. Not only is the burst skill really useful with the longbow and fractals because you cause burning, and it provides the warrior's only combo field, and it's a pretty good combo field actually, but it also just synergizes well with the build because the shouts have so many different functions in this, and it really gives you the option on how to use them. I love builds where you do more than just deal tons of damage or take tons of hits. You want something where you can actually kind of change your playstyle in the middle of the dungeon and still be effective and be able to counter any situation that you face. So that covers the build for its entirety. Your elite skill is really up to you. Sometimes I'll take Battle Standard if I think my allies are going to go down. Otherwise, I just like to have Signet of Rage for the extra damage. Swiftness is also really useful in maneuvering in some of those fractals and keeping out of range of some of the boss's bigger hits. So that covers the build. I want to try to feature gameplay for this one. I'll probably show some of AC or some of Fractals. The group that I normally run with hasn't really disbanded, but they're all sort of taking a break from the game. So I really want to get footage of a good group if I actually put it up there. So that covers the build. I'll try to get some footage for a future video. And remember, guys, to keep it real in reality. And I will be posting new stuff for the Mesmer, so don't freak out about that. And maybe some of my builds for the other classes as I get more accustomed to them or feel that I have a build that can help contribute to the pool of knowledge. Thank you again for watching, and have a good one. Alright, so in this short clip I just want to demonstrate just how powerful the regeneration and sustain in this build is for the warrior class. So keep in mind that this is something that I'm fighting solo. If you were in a group setting, you'd be doing even more support because your shouts removing conditions from your allies, providing small heals, and of course providing either buffs to your allies or debuffs to your enemies. So, but here we're just going to engage this veteran risen giant. And also pay attention to how the skill rotations. You usually want to start off with your greatsword, just because that's going to give you the most DPS and help you build your adrenaline level the quickest. Whenever you do have max adrenaline, typically you want to switch over to your longbow and use your burst skill. Now your burst skill is going to remove up to 3 conditions based on how much adrenaline you have. So if you have 3 bars of adrenaline, that's going to be 3 conditions removed. Now, as you can see here, I have quite a bit of enemies engaged, but my regeneration is just so strong, it's not really doing much to me. Also, whenever you use your burst skill with the longbow, you want to also be using the third skill shortly after so that you're giving yourself might. It's a combo finisher, so you'll actually be giving area might, so any allies that are also near you will be gaining those might stacks as well. As you can see, my health is still fairly high. I'm not doing a whole lot to try to avoid damage other than just the occasional evades of this giant stomps, but my health is doing just fine. I'm not having to heal or anything else, and there were a bunch of other mobs there, and I'm not really having to do too much. I'm just sort of auto-attacking and going through my skill rotations as needed. In addition to your shouts removing conditions and providing small heals, they're also giving you that adrenaline. So typically what you want to do is build up your adrenaline level and then use your burst skills, and then save your for great justice and on my mark so that you can build up your adrenaline quickly again so you can get your burst skill off twice with the longbow before switching off to the greatsword again. And there you go, that's a short demonstration of how easy it is to play this build. Like I said, it's not something I'd recommend using to solo anything or anything like that. It's just really good for team fights when you're doing dungeons. I've used it a ton of fractals. It keeps you alive, it keeps your teammates alive, and that's ultimately the goal when you're doing some of the harder content in the game.